This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack Podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, what's happening, Mike? What's going on Labor Day weekend, man? What do you got going on this weekend?
Oh, I mean, probably the worst weekend of the year in my household. No, like two teachers both going back to work on Tuesday after being off for 2 months plus 10 weeks. Yeah, so whatever, it is what it is. I don't really feel that bad about. I don't ever really feel that bad about going back to work. I enjoy my job. My job's pretty easy to me, and yeah, I don't really sweat it too much. But you know, I do understand after having off for a while, it does get tough to go back. So we're wrapping things up. Went to a little Rutgers women's soccer game today with my daughter. Watched some women's college soccer with her. Got our last soccer training session of the summer tomorrow. We're headed out to that, and yeah, that's about it. I'm supposed to start league on Tuesday, but being that it's my first day of work, and I'm likely going to have to drive my mom home that afternoon, I'm going to miss the first week, and then I'm going to miss the second week because I have my one daughter's back to school night on that night. And yeah, at least one of us is going to be going to that. So I'm out for the first 2 weeks. I say all the time, not to get into a deep discussion of this. We didn't have this on our slate to talk about tonight, but the 36-week league schedule is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like how we still do something in 2024 that was established so long ago when society was so different is just beyond me. It is. Like I'll be honest, I don't think there should be league bowling in September. I don't think it should start until October at the earliest. Schools are going back. Football's coming back. Youth sports are starting back up. People are back deeper into the work grind because the summer is over.
No, I disagree with you.
Okay. I also think there should be at least 2 weeks off of the holiday period. You know, right around the new year. You know, 2 weeks off, enjoy the holidays, no bowling, come back after the new year, restart. You know, so for me, it just doesn't. You know, like I said, it just doesn't work real well. So what we're doing this year is we're bowling with 3 people for a two-person league. And all 3 people are contributing to the envelope, and we all have a share in the team. And we're just, you know, kind of coming up with a schedule as we go along. But I am out for the first 2 weeks. But I did finish up my house league last Monday night. I'll be honest, I forget exactly what I shot, but I think it was about 690 again. I know I went like 257 the last game or 268 the last game, but I bowled terribly the first game. I mean, like 190 terrible. It was terrible. So it was, you know, average night. You had me at what, like 222 or 223?
Yeah.
Yeah, I 229 is what I ended at. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Not to say that I have any thoughts on that whatsoever. That means anything. But it was fun to strike a lot. But I'm looking forward to getting back to bowling on the more challenging stuff in a couple weeks when I resume league. I'll definitely be hitting the training center a Sunday or two between now and when I start, just to get a look at the patterns we're going to be bowling on. And yeah, that's it. You know, it'll be a couple weeks before I have another league report, but it was a fun summer of bowling. I got to help out a couple guys that are amongst my bowling friends, and we had a good time. The league didn't go all that well. Oh, Mr. X and the Sandbaggers won the league. No surprise there. Okay. The Mr. 250 ended up dropping down to third, I think, and finishing third. There was almost another physical confrontation on Monday night. There was an offer for somebody to go out in the parking lot and kick somebody's ass. There was you want to go out in the parking lot? I'll kick your ass. I think it was Mr. X that was yapping that yap. Things were heated in this summer trios handicap league.
Do you know who Mr. X reminds me of? And just by you saying his story and fighting, and I have this mental picture of who's the radio personality out here in the East Coast. I mean, that's really annoying. He's got the glasses, the hair back, white guy, older white guy. He's pretty.
Oh, Mike Francesa.
Yeah, every time you say Mr. X
from New York, right? From WFAN,
I think of him for some reason. That's the image.
Well, it's funny. I think Mr. X is a Brooklyn guy, bro.
Oh, really? Do I know him?
No, I don't know. I mean, if
you
I
have
would
to tell me his name.
If I would say there's anybody he would remind you of in the bowling community, I would have to say Joe Tusa. That's who I would say. I would say
to the man.
He reminds me a little bit of Joe Tusa with his mannerisms and he's always very excited and whatnot. Steph, who bowls in the same stuff I bowl in, what's up, Steph? Says in the chat, not only did they win the league, their 190 bowlers shot back-to-back 700 plus the last 2 weeks of league out of nowhere. I mean, listen, take that for what it's worth. I mean,
right.
What are you going to do? 100%. Yeah, it is what it is. So I wrapped up my summer league. Like I said, it was a fun time. I enjoyed myself, and I'll say again, because I know everybody likes to blow things that I say out of proportion, but there is a time and place for easy patterns. There is a time and place for house shots.
Big peek out up.
I just don't feel that it's that those of it that have reached a certain skill level should be participating in those environments.
Nico says busiest man in America. Yo, you have no idea how busy this kid is. He's the busiest person I've ever met. And he used to call me the busiest person.
I think anybody that runs a household with 2+ kids and has both people working in that household, or even if they don't have both people working, honestly, even if one of the person is stay at home, I assume they are just busy to the max. Like everybody.
Nobody was like Tusa. I agree. Nobody was like Tusa. He's one of a kind.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I know that, Dave. I mean, believe me. But just in terms of the mannerisms and stuff, that's all.
All right, Mike. Anything else left in your league review? Because I got my own league review.
I know. That's why I'm giving you the floor here, bro. Go ahead. We all want to hear league. It was week one of this sport.
Yeah.
Doubles league. Yes.
I didn't know what to expect walking in because
you're bowling with a partner you don't even know.
Don't even know. So I get in a bowling alley and I didn't know what to expect, and it was very, very organized and very well run from the minute I walked in there. The league secretary came over to me, introduced himself to me right away. Hey, Rob, you're bowling on, lane 24 with Joe. And Joe was the guy from the pro shop that I met, a couple weeks back. Who owns the pro shop there at Via Linda. And they talked a league meeting, Mike, you would love this league. It's 2 13-week splits.
Oh my God.
And December is off.
It's beautiful.
So they run it from now till Thanksgiving, I think.
Beautiful. And
then we're off until January. And they said that if there's lanes available, they might run mini tournament, whatever. Okay. It's 4 games, $20 a week. Okay. And he told us exactly how much money. It's like $4.60 some cents for lineage. And then he takes out 50 cents a bowler for himself. Okay. And the rest goes to the prize fund, which is like $3 or something like that. So they told us exactly where every dollar goes to, and it's for sport. It's they change. It's 4 patterns, and they change a pattern every. I believe it's for 2 weeks. So you go 2 patterns, I think, or something in that nature. 3 patterns, maybe it was every 4 weeks or something.
Okay.
So very happy with this league, right? They started on time. It's a doubles league. I was out of there. Not, very not too competitive. I mean, you're still bowling match point against the other person, and there's woods and points.
Is it handicap or scratch? What's the handicap system? It's scratch.
450.
Okay.
Based on
cap
450. Yeah, which means anybody could really bowl at that point because it's a sport league, so they round it down.
So they use sport averages.
Yes.
So if you come in with a house average, they re-rate you to sport, and that's what the cap is by.
I'm pretty sure, yes, but nobody really cared because nobody was nobody was like, the only really there's a few that definitely I don't really know a lot of people in the league, but I know Buttriff is bowling. I didn't see him this week, obviously, because but I know he's supposed to be bowling. A few other people, but it's really just honestly to go there. It's perfect for me. I get to bowl practice on a sport. Me personally, I bowled 4 games. I bowled like 775. Okay. I didn't know what pattern it was. I didn't know what length it was. I brought in 6 balls. I'll have definitely a better idea what to bring in next week. So I was like 194, 193 or something. I just was slipping a little bit, not to make excuses, but I couldn't get my footwork together after the first game. Had the wrong ball, but anyway, yeah, I'm excited. I was happy. I left there like 8:45. I was done. We started at like 6:30. Was out of there by 8:30.
Were there places to sit?
It was very comfortable. It was a little bit warmer for my liking. I like it to be cold, especially in the summer in Phoenix. But yeah, I have no complaints. The arm is great, 100%, Fred. No problems with the arm. Now it's just the other old man pains, the knees, the back, getting into bowling shape for that Robert Smith match, which is looming right in mid-October with the Agent Ong Open. So trying to get myself ready for that slowly to get my body ready to start bowling more in the next few months. But yeah, other than that, man, I'm really happy with this league. I can't have been high. It's 10 minutes from my house. Get a 4 games for $20. They're running a clean series pot. So every week you put in $2, and if you bowl 4 clean games, you split the money at the end of the league.
Okay, so am I hearing right then that there's really not a lot of prize money involved in this league?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, so then that's why the scratch works, because no one's really worried about the prize money. So you're really not bowling for much of anything.
No,
you're bowling
it's like a practice
to get some work in. Okay, all right, I like that though. I like that. I like that environment. I like that. I think that's good.
Still competitive though, because if you put people against each other, even if there's no money, people want to win.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, you could always get side action if you want.
Like that. Side action.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think we compare bowling to golf a lot, and like that's what golfers do, right? They go out and they form a foursome and they draw up some handicap rules themselves, and they get some action in while they're out there playing. So that's always available.
These are bowlers that are bowling in the league that he said during the league meeting that the median average of the league in the summer or last year was like 165 sport.
Okay.
So this is not a super high competitive
it's beginner sport level.
Sport level.
No, listen, it's awesome and encouraging to hear that there's stuff like that going on out there.
Yeah, 14 teams too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 28 bowlers. So
okay, yeah, we're up to 18 teams.
Yeah,
in our sport doubles league. So we got 36, which is nice. I mean, that would have been enough to have 12 triples teams. So that's originally the highest mark we were at when the league was actually running.
And here's the thing:
it's good to hear.
I'm going to go out and say this. Could be a hot take, depending. I'd rather bowl in a league like this where it's $20 a week and I'm getting 4 really good games of practice on sport and could stay after in practice than bowl in a 5-man team handicap league where first place of the league was $10,000 to $15,000.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I would choose this over any house league. I mean, no, like, listen, the sport league is the league I choose to bowl. Like, I can only bowl 1 league a week, and that's what I choose to bowl. There's better leagues. There's leagues that have more money. There's people that have asked me to bowl in other leagues that are more money. I don't care about the money. It's not about the money. I don't make money from bowling leagues. I bowl league to enjoy myself. I bowl league to keep myself involved in the game and keep myself sharp to some degree. So yeah, like I said, it's great to hear that.
It is. It's a phenomenal. It was the first time in years that I left the bowling center bowling league and was legitimately happy and had a good time bowling. Like everybody was super nice. Like nobody was judging anybody. Everybody was supportive, and it was good practice, Mike. They weren't hard. I mean, I'm sorry, they weren't easy. They weren't hard, but they weren't easy. It was right in between, right where they really should be.
Yeah, but for other people that aren't at the advanced level of sport bowling, they were probably near damn impossible.
Yeah, there was a lot of misses for sure, and including myself. Yeah, I had 770 something with like a 150 game. Like
I see what you did there, though, Rob, talking about people having an attitude or making fun of other people. I see that you dropped that in there. So I guess you're trying to hint to me that it's time to move on and get to what the people may have shown up here for tonight.
All right, where do you want to start this? Because this is your beef, Mike. This is your beef.
Well, clearly it's my beef. Clearly it's my beef because my man, the king of the Patch Pirates, loves you, bro. Loves you. But we'll get to that. We'll speak on that. All right. Well, here's what I would like to do. I'd like to bring up the video, at least where he talks about us, and I'll give him credit for mentioning our name because there's some people out there that won't even say our name, even though they have a problem with some of the things that we say. So I'll give him credit for that. I'll also say this before we start the video, because up to this point, and if you're not familiar, this is the king of the Patch Pirates. Okay, get familiar. All right, Luis Napoles. You've heard his name on here before. King of the Patch Pirates, and I call him that because he has had ball deals, or seems to have ball deals. He gets free bowling balls out the wazoo. I know that, and he's most known for doing his bowling ball review videos, which, in my opinion, are somewhat comical because the quality of shot making is nil, and I'm not sure that there's much you can gather from these ball review videos that he does. Some of which, I'm being called out for being toxic. Some of which talk about, the worst bowling balls I hate. So here's a guy who's calling me toxic, who's taking products that he's getting for free and saying, applying the label of worst to them, or saying my least favorite ball. Nonetheless, okay. Before this point in the video, he talked about the hate towards Tim Cagle. Okay, that was his main point. I don't think anybody would argue with me on that. That was his main point. Was about Tim Cagle and people's hate towards Tim Cagle's style. Rob, last week, could you and I both have been any more clear about our position on that? And our position was, I don't care how somebody throws it, if they're able to get it done in a real environment. Okay? And that right there is the key caveat. Okay? I will respect any way anybody throws it, but you got to be able to get it done in the environment that really counts. Okay? He talked about Tim Cagle and the hate towards Tim Cagle. We agree on that, Lewis. We have common ground on that because Rob and I feel the exact same way. We said it last week. Then we get to this point in the video. Okay? And Rob's going to play it here, and I will ask Rob to stop it at certain points so I can respond to some things here.
Chris said I touched on everything. But basically,
pause it for a second. Sorry. One more point about his speaking about Tim Cagle. At one point in what he says, this guy, the king of the Patch Pirates, actually compares himself to Tim Cagle. He puts himself in the same category as Tim Cagle. Regional winner, regional titleist, Tim Cagle. Okay? Let me be clear. You got a regional title, you got, that's like certified stamp as a competitive bowler, bro. Okay? Certified stamp. King of the Patch Pirates. Let's not put ourselves in the same category as a regional titleist. Okay? I don't care if the guy hits the ball down the lane with the butt end of a pool stick. If he's got a regional title, don't put yourself in the same category as him. Okay? Go ahead, Rob. Play it.
You guys should do me a favor. If you are one of those people that loves to talk shit about me, then just stop watching my videos. Right? Hey, what's the name of that podcast that was talking shit about me?
Oh, that's what's his name?
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
What's his name?
Sweep the Rack.
Sweep the Rack. This is what.
All right. Now listen. I'm just trying to go through with you people my thoughts while I'm watching this garbage. Okay. And my thought was, look at this disingenuous person here. Okay. Look at this. Look at the disingenuousness of this video. All right. He's sitting here acting. He's doing this video knowing he's going to talk about the podcast and talk about me and mention us. And he's sitting here acting like he doesn't know the name of the podcast. Okay. Come on, Lewis. Be less disingenuous, bro.
Larry in the chat says this dude said like 10 times, I don't care what people think of me, and then made a 10-minute video complaining about what people think of him.
No, well, to be fair, yeah, you're right, because a lot of the other part was about what people think of the way he throws it. This part, though, was about how, and I'm going to get to this, how I'm to blame for bowling and all the problems.
Well, let's get there. Let's get there.
All right, go ahead. Let's go.
Bro, what's the name of this guy?
Stop it. You don't know the name of the show. You don't know us, but you know Patch Pirates and his boys off in the back yelling it sarcastically. Maybe that's the reason this guy decided to mention my name. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that I'm calling out the Patch Pirates. So listen, I'm sorry that Rob and I and many people like us, many people that were around in bowling at that time. I know Lewis and his boy probably haven't been around all that long. But we actually remember a time in bowling, we've talked about this before, where your resume mattered if you wanted to get a ball deal. Where if you had a ball deal, you walked into a bowling alley and people knew who you were, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm not okay with people getting free equipment just because they're good at video editing, all right? Not okay with that. It should be earned by your credentials and your resume as a bowler. And it was that way for years and years and years, decades. And now it's not. And I'm not okay with it. If you disagree with me, that's fine. But, Patch Pirates, okay? I came up with the term for it. I'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead.
The one that I actually like, Rob Piershed, Rob. So Sweep the Rack podcast, right? This guy, first of all, Rob, if you're watching this video, I respect you. I like you.
I mean, this is the point of the video right here where, I mean, he's actually makes a lot of sense. Like, I really wholeheartedly agree with him on this part of the video. So everybody, let's listen to him. He's really got some valid points right here. Hold on. Let's listen.
As a person, you and I have had great conversations. This is not directed at you. This Big Mike guy who...
No offense. No, I'm good. I'm good.
You've had conversations. You've had conversations.
I had. Yeah, Lewis is a good guy, man. I've had conversations with him.
Clearly you weren't honest with him because, Lewis, I got bad news for you, bro. Okay? Rob's such a good guy. You respect and like Rob so much. Lewis, Rob looks at it the same way I do, bro. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm not saying I speak for Rob, but Rob looks at you like a Patch Pirate the same way I do.
So... I've been on record before saying about ball review videos and I've talked about numerous bowling content out there, and this is not just for Lewis's channel. This was for every channel out there. Podcast, ball review videos. That
even your own brother. You even called out you even said
100%.
about your brother. So
if you run these videos and content and you're sponsored by bowling ball companies, there is a agenda behind the bowling ball companies. The podcasts out there, if you're sponsored, if you have anybody that's giving free stuff, whatever, it's a bias. It's an agenda, right? I was on staff for a while I was doing this podcast. It wasn't for a while, but I was. And it definitely, I know I can't say truthful and honest critique and criticisms about the balls that are in the company that I'm on staff with. So you can't be honest in these ball review videos as well as the content out there. If you're sponsored or getting free anything from bowling ball companies, you have an agenda. Bottom line, any podcast and any ball review videos. That's really all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, but he loves you, son. He loves you.
Got good points here. I mean, he does. I mean,
JG218 in the chat saying can't blame the YouTubers, blame the companies for not having legitimate marketing. All right, okay, I do, JG. I definitely blame the ball companies. I think the ball companies are solely responsible for creating the monster that is the patch pirates these days. But all right, go ahead, Rob. Continue.
Big Mike tells it like his there's one thing you could criticize our podcast for a lot of things and a lot of stuff we do and say and all the joking and all the things that we should be taken seriously. But the one thing that we will do for all the people who listen is we are 100%. We're real. We're honest. We say it how we feel. Sometimes it's not, sometimes people disagree with it, and that's fair. But don't ever call us like that we have agendas or biases or because we don't. And that's the one thing that I will say about this podcast, honestly. So, all right, let's keep going.
Who, for whatever reason, loves or used to love talking about me. I don't know. I don't watch any of your stuff. Dude, get to know me before you want to talk shit about me. And you are part of the reason why bowling sucks. And you are part of the reason why people don't want to bowl. And not so much you, because I don't think your influence is that large, even though I am talking about you in this video.
Stop. Stop. Okay. I mean, there's so much to dissect here. Our influence isn't that large. And not that I could care one iota about that. I know he cares about that because that's how he has his arrangement. I don't really care about how large our reach is at all. But I will say this. Rob, who coined the phrase patch pirate?
That was you.
Has that not spread around the bowling community?
I've heard it more than it definitely is out there.
I mean, mop, hoss, patch pirate, bro.
Yeah, mop, okay. Definitely not mop, definitely not hoss, but patch pirate for sure.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, It ain't. You have other examples, but okay, like. So say what you will about our reach, but in some way, Lewis, we're impacting the bowling community, even if it's through the terminology that people are using. Okay.
Wait, Mike, but let me say something about that, because obviously, like, we don't have the subscribers that Luis has on his YouTube channel. Okay. But let me tell you something. When it comes to a podcast like us, it's not how many people are subscribed. It's actually who's listening. Okay. And I feel like we have a little bit more credibility in that aspect of the people that are actually watching and listening to us than if I had 100,000 views on every episode. You know what I mean? So that's kind of really what I'm going to say about that. Yeah, would I love to have this channel have a huge reach and be all across like the bowling world and leagues and tournaments and everybody talking about? Yeah, of course. But if I go to any competitive bowling tournament out there at the highest level, and me or you walk in, most likely people know that we have this channel and we have some sort of influence in the bowling world because of how long we've been doing it.
Go ahead.
But people like you is the reason why bowling just sucks, man. And that's why, like, you watch people in
pause it. Oh no, go ahead, continue it because I want to include
league and stuff, and they're not even happy. Like, people come bowling and they're not even happy. They're miserable. And it's because of you, like not you specifically, again, because I don't think your reach is that.
So earlier in the video, he said, "Oh, you have a problem with me. You don't even know me. Get to know me." Okay, Lewis, listen, I'm sure this dude's a nice dude in his personal life and all that. I'll be honest, I have no interest in getting to know him. You know, my issue with what he does is that he doesn't have the credentials to be out there giving people advice about what bowling balls to buy, let alone getting free bowling balls from a company. Period. End of story. I use the term patch pirate to describe that. If he doesn't like that, that's too damn bad. Okay. But here he is. Here he is saying that I'm the problem with bowling when he doesn't even know me or he hasn't done his homework on me. You know, he's saying, oh, people are miserable at League and I'm the reason. No, actually, to the contrary, Lewis, I'm the guy who saved a league that was going to shut down and gave people the opportunity to continue bowling. I'm the guy who has given away more bowling balls in the last 2 league seasons than you have in probably the history of your channel, bro. Okay? I'm the guy who helps bowlers out. Ask any bowler who bowls with me in my sport thing. I've probably helped them out. I've probably tried to give them advice, give them some knowledge about how to play the lanes, what ball to use, how to be a little bit more successful at what they're doing. Okay. He doesn't know that I was a high school coach for a long time. And I spread my love and passion of the game to many, many young people who I got to work with. Great people, by the way, in my experience as a high school coach. So, Lewis, you need to take your own advice, bro. You need to take your own advice and do your homework on me before you say that I'm part of the problem. You know, you might not like what side I'm on in this debate in this game, but I'm certainly proactive in trying to promote the side of bowling that I love and have a deep care for. Okay? So get your facts straight on that. Go ahead, Rob.
Large. It's because of people like you. And I think that if we all just worried about ourselves and if we all just worried about our own bowling and if we all just, like we're bowling, we're not saving the world. We're not like, no one's making millions of dollars bowling. Like if you just worry about that, I think bowling would be for sure better off.
Let me talk about something that he just said about that. I completely disagree with this point. And to me, this is a selfish point of view. Okay, it is. Because in the bowling world, like you just talked about, if everybody worried about themselves, especially the highest level competitors worried about themselves, then bowling as a sport would never flourish. Because really what people should do who are at higher levels of bowling is try to reach as many bowlers as they can, right? And try to get them involved in sport bowling, give them advice on how to maybe drill balls, some point lessons, right? How to do this, how to do that. Start sport leagues. Try to really get people exposed to every aspect of bowling, right? If everybody were just worried about themselves, the sport wouldn't be in a better spot. It's the people who actually don't think about themselves and think about everybody else and care about everybody else enjoying their time in the bowling center, as well as the bowling leagues and stuff. And to me, that's what makes a difference. But I mean,
Rob, not to mention that by saying that I'm the problem in bowling, like you're just showing that you're uneducated. You're just showing that you haven't been around very long. Okay, because the problems that have impacted bowling and gotten it to the point where it is now, where to someone like you or I, Rob, who was involved in it in the years that we were involved in it, to me, Rob, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, or people in the chat, tell me if you agree with me. If you experienced, high level league bowling in the 90s, okay, high level league bowling in the 90s, and you walk into a league right now, okay, any league almost, all right, you are going to be blown away by the lack of quality bowling in that particular league. Okay, that's how watered down league bowling has become. All right, and I joke about it a lot. It's literally the Mamma Mias and Papa Pias against the 240 average bowlers, right? And while I joke about that, every league that I show up and watch, it's the truth. Okay, and that's the case. All right, so this guy, he hasn't been around long enough to even know how we got to the point we're at. He walked into the room when it was already almost empty, and he thinks that this is where we started. No, this ain't where we started, bro. There used to be a really strong bowling community, and it's fallen apart over the last few decades. And I've watched it fall apart. I've literally been in the room while it's been falling apart, and everybody's been walking out. So I think I know a little bit more about the causes of why people have left bowling or why bowling is so watered down at this point than he does. Okay? So blame me if you want, but it's just ignoring the realities. Okay? It's ignoring the realities that the easy lane conditions and inflated egos have contributed to the fall of bowling. It's ignoring reality that the equipment and technology has made the game easier than ever. Okay? It's ignoring the idea that there were a lot of people in Rob and I's generation who learned the game in one manner, and then when we got to the more competitive levels, almost had to relearn the game because we were sold the fake version of the game. I know Lewis and his buddy who's yelling at me in the video, they probably don't know that because they didn't go through that. They weren't around at that time. But they can take my word that that's the case. Okay? And any bowler who's been around it their whole life will tell you that, would agree with that. Okay.
Did we address Rob being in cahoots with the enemy playing both sides?
Yes, Dion, we did. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious. But
I continue it because there's more ridiculousness.
I love how I'm with the enemy. Like he's just like so.
So that's just my rant. That's my scramble. That's my talking about the state of bowling. Not quite as many explicit words as I thought I was going to use because children do watch this show. But just worry about yourself. And that goes to anyone. Everyone who loves to get on the internet and talk shit about people and think that it's okay or whatever. Like, Chris, what else should we talk about?
About what?
About the state of bowling. I talked about the Tim Kegel thing. Yeah. I talked about how people like to talk shit about the way we throw the ball. I talked about that Sweep the Rack podcast who loves to talk shit about people. What else?
I don't even know. If you could throw the ball like I do and average 220, you do it. But you throw the ball you do and average 180. That's why you can play.
Does anybody know who he's talking to by chance?
It's his. I don't know. The guy's name is Chris, obviously.
Chris,
but
did
you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? He said, "Oh, well, you're talking about me. I average 220, and you only average 180, and you can't." I mean, is that?
All right, I'm getting him off the screen.
Come on.
We're not talking.
No, continue. There's one more comment I need.
Yeah.
On the ball, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah. So what Chris was saying that if you could throw the ball like him and average 220, you would, but you don't, and you can't.
Right. I know it's not pretty, but it works.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even so much about just people talking shit about us.
Right.
It's just more so like in general, like people love to run their mouth about people that they didn't know. Hey, let me tell you something. You can beat me at bowling, but you can't beat me at basketball. I wonder how many people could beat me at basketball that talk shit about me. Or, things that actually matter in life. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. I just want to say thank you.
What? Now, I could be wrong. Was he being sarcastic with that comment at the end there about basketball? Or was that supposed to be a serious comment? I mean, what is that? What is that? Yes, thank you, Robert, in the chat for pointing this out. They mentioned 220, like 220 is notable. I mean, come on, guys. That in and of itself just shows you, how ridiculous it is. Now, I want to bring up this comment by Jason Pav. Jay, what up? You're young, Jay. I'm going to have to school you here for a minute. He says I'm wrong about the talent level of the leagues now, right? He says there's a ton of talent that you're calling out just because they bowl in a house shot league. Okay, all right, a little bit. Yes, I will say that. And Jay, I think you know that a lot of those guys that you would say fall into that talent category in the house leagues, if they came and bowled on something real, they'd likely struggle greatly, okay? He says, my league I run is 42 teams on a house shot. That's a lot of teams. That's strong league. So are you saying we're all trash? I don't know if I can be down with that. No, that's not what I'm saying. Here's what I am saying. I'm saying that if you went into a bowling center let's say in 1996, 1997, 1998, okay? And there was a league that was 42 teams. You were going to see an unbelievable amount of talent out on those lanes, okay? I mean, great amateur bowlers, maybe even some local professionals, regional players, maybe even guys who had made a TV show or competed for a PBA title. Okay. And what I'm saying, Jay, is that today, when you walk into the bowling center and you see that same 42 team league, I feel that the talent level is a lot lower today than it was back then in that same situation. Okay, and Jay, I will use your dad and who, if you don't know, Jason's dad, Steve Pavlenko Sr. was a very good bowler and bowled on tour for a while around the South Jersey area, and Sam Macarone and Charlie Bruno. Okay, just to name a few. Who, if you went over to Turnersville Cross Keys, Brunswick Cross Keys on a Tuesday night during the summer, which Bill and Joe and I did regularly to bowl pots, those would be the type of guys you were running into on a regular basis. And that's just to name the best of the best, right? There were other guys that I'm not remembering their names who were competing at a really high level as well, right? And I just think that today it's much more watered down. You know, do you still have some talent in those leagues? Yes, you do. But is it watered down? I think it is. And am I going to walk in, Jay, even in your league of 41 teams, which I'm sure is a good league in South Jersey? Am I going to see some Mamma Mias and Papa Pias? I probably am, right? And back in the day, you didn't see that as much, and that's part of what I'm saying. Go ahead, Rob.
Mel, what up? Robbie, can you catch us up a bit? We came in the middle. Long story short, Luis Napoles was talking shit about Big Mike for talking shit about him.
I'm the problem with everything in bowling.
Big Mike is the problem of the bowling industry and why it's so toxic. And
I've ruined bowling.
Why everybody is miserable bowling league. It's because of Big Mike.
It's because of me. I'm sorry.
You could listen to his video, but I'm kind of impatient waiting for the current state of bowling part 2, which hasn't been released yet. So maybe he's waiting for your response before doing a part 2. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that, Mike. But yeah, so that's pretty much the high level view of it. I don't really know what else to say about it. But yeah, Mike, I think, look, I mean, we are pretty outspoken about our opinions on the sport, right? But if anybody meets us in real person in the bowling centers, like, and came over and talks to us, and, you know, and if anybody ever asks me or you for maybe any tips or pointers or whatever it is, right? Or just want to talk about the show, whatever, like, I know we are more than welcome to talk to anybody really about it and be completely positive, but honest. Right. And I think that's really the point of view here is we're honest. Sometimes maybe we're too honest, and people don't like that in today's day. They don't.
Rob, people don't like that we refuse to openly acknowledge that the house side of the game. I mean, that's what it is. You know, people get pissed off because you and I and others like us, there's a lot of other people like us out there of the same mindset, just really don't acknowledge what goes on that side of the game. You know, we know what it is. We understand what it is. You know, I get that there's people who want to pretend like they don't know what it is. I get that there's people who don't really know what it is because they don't know the other side. But we're not playing that game, Rob. People like you, of your mindset, people of my mindset, we're not playing that game. You know, and the problem is that a large majority of bowling is playing that game. You know, you said earlier, Rob, like, you know, it wouldn't be good if everybody just minded their own business, right? And Steph was in the chat earlier, one of the guys that has bowled the Tuesday night thing with me the last few years. You know how I met him, Rob? He was just getting into bowling, and he was bowling next to me while I was bowling on some patterns, testing out some patterns for the thing I was running. And he saw my ball going down the lane, and he saw what it was doing. And he turned to me, and he was like, "Oh, are you bowling on some pro stuff or something? Like, why is your ball doing that?" Rob, that turned into me bringing him over, having him bowl with me, teaching him a little bit, showing him a little bit. the guy is now addicted to bowling. He bowls every weekend. He bowls multiple leagues. He bowls on sport. He's bowled a couple regionals already. So, like, listen, don't tell me. All right? Don't tell me what I'm doing or not doing. Okay? You just don't like the side I'm on. All right? And that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. But it doesn't mean that I'm out here ruining things. Okay? I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So I think I agree. So anyway, all right, Mike, we done with this? We're good. We're gonna wait for a part 2, maybe.
I ain't waiting for a part 2. I'm done. I'm good.
Okay. So there was a PBA tournament, Mike, this weekend.
Lucky Larson Masters.
The Lucky Larson Masters.
And surprisingly, not a lot of top tour names in the finals there, Rob.
There wasn't. It was, I think I saw Martin Larson made the top 8, and Jesper, who was bowling in his home country, right, of Sweden. And we talked a little bit about this before we went on air, that we were even surprised that this was the first time he won this tournament, considering it's in his hometown, or not hometown, or home country. Not sure if it's his hometown or not. But yeah, Jesper, gets the win. I believe it was his 12th title. I didn't, to be honest with you, get a chance to watch any of it. I wish I did. I wish I would have been able to talk maybe about the YouTube stream that they did. So if anybody out there in the chat was able to watch the YouTube stream, that I know Very Crawley was doing some reporting. I know they had some Randy Peterson doing some commentary. What did you all think of it? Talk to us in the chat here in the comments and let us know what you thought compared to Bowl TV, right? I'd like to know at least the comparison. But yeah, so he gets his 12th title. I'm curious. But assuming that he was using a urethane. I didn't really, like I said, get a chance to watch it, but
I tuned in here and there. Like, it kept popping up on my Twitter feed, like as a live feed. So I did tune in here and there. But I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised at the lack of, regular PBA players that were over there for the event.
Well, they were throwing urethane, by the way.
Okay.
Because in Jeff Riggle's article, if you haven't checked out his 11 frame blog, it's pretty good. You guys should subscribe to it, honestly. The semifinals featured 3 left-handers and a right-hander the tournament was named for. Martin Larson, which is kind of interesting. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. All were throwing
your own
urethane.
tournament. You bowl your own tournament. I don't know about that.
All were throwing urethane. So 3 lefties, 1 righty, all throwing urethane. So it's not a surprise there.
Okay. Anything else to get to, Rob?
No, I think we could, start wrap it up. You want to go to the worst of the week?
Let's do it. You want to go first?
Yeah, you go first because mine's gonna be, I think, a little bit longer. I think we're gonna have a funny conversation with my worst of the week.
Mine's obvious. It's his video, right? That would be my choice. But I guess
worst of the year, maybe even.
That's perhaps a little too obvious. So I'm gonna go with this. On my Instagram, you know how Instagram pops up with the sponsored ads when you're looking at stories?
Sure.
Okay. On my Instagram today, in the sponsored ads, popped up this ad. Okay.
Men who like bowling.
We are looking for men who like bowling.
Okay.
Take part in our fun research studies and receive rewards, PayPal, gift cards, and more.
Nice.
I'm giving worst of the week whoever's spamming my stories with that. Bowling research. What bowling research is going on? What bowling research is going on?
You should sign up for the content.
I'm also going to give an honorable mention. I'm not getting deep into this one. I'm going to give an honorable mention to the Evil Empire this week in worst of the week for using the kids, using the teenagers in their promotion of the game and the sport and their company.
Why is that bad?
Because I just think the kids. We've talked about it before. I just think that's not something that the younger people should be involved in.
What are you crazy? Isn't one of the main reasons why bowling is in the Olympics is because of the reach of the junior reach? Now, wouldn't be a better person to reach than a teenager spokesperson who has a pretty good social media like following.
And that's fine. I'm just saying affiliations with companies.
Oh, you're talking more on the ball sponsorships for the junior gold stuff.
Ball videos. Okay. Yes. Okay. Like the last thing we need, obviously, after tonight's episode, is more ball videos, and I certainly don't need them from teenage bowlers that are sponsored by a company. You know, and as I said, Rob, I kind of think like, you by doing that, you allow those kids to believe that they're guaranteed to make it when they're far from guaranteed to make it in the game.
I got you.
And that's just something I don't, I'm not with.
I understand.
Honorable mention there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. My worst of the week, it's not specifically going to this gentleman, but he did post a kind of an interesting post that got me thinking. And so I'm going to read the post. Like I said, this post is not worst of the week. So if you know this gentleman, his name is Ben Ostra. I was in the Bowling Science Forum. He wrote, question, how young is too young for the bowling alley? My wife is convinced she has to quit Pilates on league night because the kids might be exposed to loud noises while I have them at the alley for 15 or 20 minutes until she could pick them up. Not worried about my 3-year-old, but she's convinced my 11-month son can't be in the bowling alley without earmuffs. She says I'm used to it, which is why I don't think it's loud. Now, post is not worst of the week because, to be honest with you, if I was a father and I had kids and they were young, I would maybe have the same type of questions, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know these things. But it got me thinking, Mike. I was raised in a bowling alley, okay? I was in Gil Hodges Lanes at Ralph Avenue from a little kid from probably until I was even probably in a stroller, right? Grew up and then moved over to Strickland Lane or Strickland Avenue, if anybody knows that area or is listening, obviously. And I wouldn't have it any other way growing up in a bowling alley, Mike, because the shit that I seen and heard growing up in the 80s in an East Coast bowling alley like Gil Hodges Lanes made me the person that I am today. Gil Hodges Lanes is so deeply ingrained in my genetics of who I am today that it is a part of my life, part of my childhood, and I will be 90 years old and will still tell stories about Gil Hodges Lanes.
Like things happen in your life and you're like, oh, Gil Hodges Lanes.
Right. Like there was a post from, LaCorey, like bowling about someone stealing league money or using it. Like my first instinct was Nigel. Nigel stole the money from the league and he went to England. If anybody doesn't know that story, come get me one day. But the owner of the bowling alley ended up on like Judge Judy because they sued him for the bowling league. Like they didn't get paid because he took the whole league money and left with it, right? Great story. I don't think they ever found them, by the way. But who knows? If anybody's from, grew up with me and and around that area, I know they're in the chat. They're going to die laughing. I hope Dave Peakow's still in the chat. He'll laugh. So anyway, got me thinking, like, give me like 4 or 5 reasons, Mike, or things that like growing up in a bowling alley, what you heard or what you saw, like what made you me, right? And some of the things that I came up with, okay, of how you knew you grew up in the bowling alley in the 80s in the East Coast, okay? You practically developed a secondhand smoking addiction, okay? You left the bowling center, Mike, reeking of cigarette smoke, okay? Everybody was smoking, okay? It didn't matter what it was. 90% everybody smoked. You left there, your whole clothes stank of cigarettes, right?
My coach, when I was like 12, 13, 14, he used to, there was like a corner store out behind the back door of the bowling alley, and he used to send me to the corner store to get him his carton of Winston's.
Yeah, 100%. You got life advice from the mechanics and the janitors of the bowling center.
For me, it was the mailman.
The mailman.
The mailman, Hank, used to come in, and he used to chill in the bowling center on his mail route for a while, and he'd watch me practice, and yeah, he just impart all kinds of ridiculous advice.
Yeah, like it reminded me of like the one guy who always had a cigarette in his mouth while he was sweeping. Like and the ashes would be falling, and he'd be sweeping the ashes up with the broom. And you go over to them and be like, yo, like, what do I do about this girl? And he'd give you the most off the wall advice, right? And as a 13, 14-year-old, of course you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and you might do it, right? Another thing, right? You grew up in a bowling center, right? Half the people were crooks. Okay, everybody wanted your money. Okay, it didn't matter if it was legally, illegally. Someone was into something all the time, and I think Secret Service showed up one time at the bowling center where I grew up. Right, counterfeit money, robbing brackets, giving your money back after you bowl 279 in your first game of brackets after you told them you won it all, and then the bracket person didn't have you in because they made a mistake, or something in that nature. I mean, we've seen a lot of shit, right? Fist fights, cursing, swearing. These are things that you were exposed when you were 9, 10, 11 years old, right? Like these are things like you can't unsee, right? Is a 10-year-old.
One time at a place that I didn't bowl there regularly, but I went to watch a league there, and there was some sort of argument, and I forget what the argument was about, but it involved the mechanic in the back. I think it was about the lanes and the way the lanes were being done. And the guy who was arguing with the mechanic, he threw his ball down the lane in practice. And when the ball came back, he put his hand in the ball, and there was human poop in the thumb hole of the ball. So like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like these are some of the instances you run into, and just hustlers, right? Hustlers, scam artists, etc.
The other two things is growing up and eating pretty much every day lunch at the bowling alley snack bar, right? Which always had pretty good food, right? Scamming for trying to get free bowling. Like I know in my center, we used to have something called respot where you would bring the sweep down, right? And when you brought the sweep down and you bowled on the second shot, it didn't count on the computer at the front desk as someone was bowling. Dude, we used to bowl for hours. We pay for one game, and we would respot till a second shot, throw it, and then we would do it for hours. And we would always have our eyes in the back of our head for the owner of the bowling center, because he would get so angry because we'd be bowling for hours and we were paying for one game. But my brother has a good point. What happened to the bowling snack bar food? It used to be so good. Now it's just mid. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree. I mean, Bolero, obviously it's now all corporate. Like they use the same food, and Bolero's food isn't terrible, to be honest with you. They have some good stuff in the snack bar. It's not awful, but like the real good bowling alley snack bar food, and we always talk about that a lot, but you don't find those really local, like bowling alley, really good snack bar food places anymore. I don't think, at least.
I mean, I would actually say that I probably learned about gambling.
Oh, gambling
through bowling, right? Like one of the bowling centers that I used to bowl in had a poker machine, like a video poker machine, and they used to pay out the video poker machine as if it was a legit gambling machine, but it wasn't. Just guys gambling, bowling pot games, bowling brackets, bowling for money. Just the idea that there was this much gambling going on, and when you watch something that previously, when you watched it, you had no idea that there was this much gambling going on, right? Yeah. So, I think now, like about this worst of the week you brought up with the how young is too young to bring a kid into the bowling alley. And I mean, other than noise concerns, like I feel like the bowling alleys today are greatly cleaned up from what they used to be, when we were hanging in the bowling alleys at that time.
Well, they weren't really made for kids when we grew up, except for maybe a couple of arcade games, which would have been my other thing, how you knew you grew up, right? arcades, right? Or the same 4 games, right? Street Fighter 2, Championship Edition, a pinball game, and then maybe a few other like Mortal Kombat, whatever. But like, it wasn't really made for kids. It was usually a dungy bowling center, smoke-filled,
right.
reeked of
but
booze, stale
those
beer.
same places that you're talking about had nursery centers in them for the parents to drop their kids in when they bowled 3 or 4 nights a week.
They
So
did.
like,
I forgot
I
about
hear
the
what you're
nursery.
saying. You know what I mean? Like, but
Dude,
like
pull
the kids,
tab. Mr. Double B says pull tabs. Remember the pull tabs? Oh, those
we
were
didn't
the-
have those in PA, but I'm
Oh.
familiar with them. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but like I said, like back then the kids were in that environment back then, right? And
Right.
I think the environment today is much cleaned up.
It is.
From where it was. So like, I wouldn't have any issue like bringing a kid or bringing one of my daughters to come watch me bowl. It's, you know, other than maybe some language here and there, you know, it's pretty tame. And I'd say even that it doesn't really get all that bad.
I mean, Charlie says Rocco the babysitter. Yeah, the nursery person who's doing the just such stories that I could get into talking about some of the craziness and debauchery that we grew up around at a young age. Gambling.
Drugs. I mean, unfortunately, the bowling alley is probably the first time I was exposed to drugs too. It's probably the first time I saw somebody use drugs. It was probably in the bowling center. You know, so yeah, there to me, I agree with you. There was a lot of negativity around the bowling scene back then when we were coming up in it. You know, I do not think that the bowling alley was a very great place to be hanging out at that time. You know, but I could also say that I think the fact that I was in Philly and you were in Brooklyn probably had something to do with that. You know, I don't think every bowling alley would fit the description of the places that you and I bowled at when we were younger. You know, so like there's definitely something to be said there.
What bad language was that was. I mean,
that was a given.
That was a given.
I saw guys absolutely destroy equipment.
Oh,
you know, scorers, ball returns, capping units. You know, I saw a guy take a capping when the capping units were wood. Okay, he took a capping unit off and slammed it on the lane, right in the middle of the lane. Wood capping unit. I mean,
I saw someone throw a shoe down a lane. I saw that.
Yeah, oh, that was like nothing. Yeah, I mean,
break a computer screen, like literally.
Yeah. Yeah. So like. Not a lot of positivity, I'll be honest. No. You know, there wasn't. That's what I'm trying to say. Like back then, I think now it's a much more antiseptic environment. It's cleaned up. You know, you don't have that same riffraff element constantly hanging in the bowling alley. You know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was a good post because it got me thinking about all the debauchery we saw when we were younger, but
no doubt.
All right, Mike, you ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Tony, definitely Stillman with the shoe. Ex-guest.
Oh no, I bowled with Stillman in college from when he was a freshman, and I had seen people throw a shoe down the lane way before Stillman.
But Stillman was the notable one. If you want to get a chance to listen to our Joe Stillman interview from season 1, but you can listen to it on like Rhapsody season 1, like episode like 7 or 8 or 9, I think it was. Also, before we get into the final thoughts, don't forget, subscribe, like the channel. I feel like a cliche of every podcast and YouTube content person saying that, but
I'll be honest, I don't care if anybody likes or subscribes. I'll be totally frank with you. We got the community that we like. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome, but I really don't care whether you do or not. Yeah.
I just like to say it
because if you like our content, I guess, and you want to know it's there, then do it. If not, no problem. You know, this ain't for everybody, bro. This show ain't for everybody. Okay.
It's not. We obviously proved that on today's show.
You got to have your stripes to come and be a member of this community, okay? Because we ain't playing that nonsense over here.
Only the real ones know about growing up at a bowling center and talking about getting life advice from the janitor.
Well, no, but Rob, I'll say this: like,
Brian's unsubscribing. He said,
in order to really know where bowling is now, you had to have been around at a certain point when it was much different, right? And you had to be deeply in it at that point to really see where we're at now versus where we were then, right? And I know that some people are too young to even see that, and that's fine. That's going to be the case in a lot of situations. But listen, I stand by what I said. If you haven't seen the decline from where it was to where it is, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around how much things have changed. And that's what always sits with me the most about the bowling community, and that has a lot to do with why I have the positions that I have. So I'll say that. But my final thought tonight is, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry for ruining bowling for everybody. When you go to league this week and you hate it, just know I apologize.
Mike, we accept your apology. I was actually thinking about that this week when I bowled bad and I was driving home and I bowled like a 151 game and I was like, man, freaking Mike. It was because of Mike. So we accept your apology, Mike, but don't ever change. Don't ever change. There's too many people out there that love to disagree and love to hate just to hate. And that makes us real is kind of where we're at. So anyway, I don't really have any really final thoughts this week. I know bowling is kind of on the back burner. Mike, when's the next PBA tournament? Do we know?
The team event coming up in a couple weeks.
League.
Yep.
When's the league? We know that by chance? Let me see if I could get that. But yeah, no, I'm just getting ready for some tournaments. I've come to the conclusion that I got to get rid of a lot of my equipment and get some new equipment. So I'm going to be making some phone calls, see what I can get, see if I could get some all staff, some bowls, because I know Mike loves that.
Yeah, call your boy, call your best friend. All right, with that, we're out. Hit us up on social media. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. I'm at the 215th. Email us if you have any more comments, etc. You want to follow up with us. We love the emails. sweettherack@gmail.com. Our schedule is going to be changing. Probably going forward. I'm thinking Sundays is going to be our time.
Probably right between the afternoon and the Sunday night game
and the night game. Yep, we're gonna try and fit right in that sweet spot right there, and we will be motivated to wrap it up before that night game starts. We'll also probably get a little bit of gambling talk in too, right? Especially on football. So, no doubt, everybody enjoy the start of football season too, right? Obviously, that's coming up. Yep. So everybody enjoy that. Rob, I hope your boy's ACL lasts more than 3 minutes, 3 plays this year. So
well, I'm going.
Rob's going. You're going. That's right. Next Monday, right?
I'm going to San Fran.
Next Monday, no doubt.
Redemption. We're calling it the redemption game.
Okay. All right. So we'll plan. We may take off next Sunday.
I'm pretty much going to be because I'm going to be.
Yeah, you're going to be out and about. So
you're probably not going to be on next weekend.
We won't be around the first NFL Sunday, right? But after that, check for us back. We'll be back on Sundays. We'll have the league stuff to discuss. And everybody again, enjoy the start of football. And I'm sorry. Have a good
one. All right, there you guys.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.